Australia is the only continent that is simultaneously a country, the most isolated landmass on the planet. Here, evolution followed its own path for millions of years and created animals found nowhere else. But everyone knows that. Here is what they do not know. In Australia, there is a city where half of it lies underground, with churches, bars, art galleries and hotels where opals jut straight out of the walls. Australia is not simply a distant continent. It is a place where every next bend in the road leads to something that is hard to explain. Today, we will uncover its secrets. 850 kilometers north of Adelaide, in the middle of the red desert of South Australia, stands a city. Or rather, barely stands, because most of it is underground. Coober Pedy, population approximately 1,500 people. About half of them live in what are called dugouts, homes carved into soft limestone.
Not caves in the romantic sense, but fully functional dwellings with rooms, kitchens, bathrooms, simply without windows looking onto the sky or a ceiling made of clouds. It all began in 1915, when 14-year-old Willie Hutchison found an opal on the ground. That one discovery triggered a mining fever. Miners arrived and quickly realized working in the desert at plus 52 degrees Celsius during the day was nearly impossible. They began to go underground, first living in old mine shafts, then carving out homes specifically for that purpose. Underground, the temperature holds steady at approximately 23 degrees, in winter and summer alike, without air conditioning. Today, underground in Coober Pedy, there are 3 churches of different denominations, art galleries, bars, restaurants, and hotels. In some hotel rooms, opals protrude directly from the walls. They are deliberately left in place as decoration.
A guest can spend the night in a room where the wall is literally studded with precious stones. Around the town, more than 250,000 mine shafts. Some are covered with lids, some are not. Special warning signs are posted throughout the town. Caution, pits. Night golf with fluorescent balls is a genuine local sport, because playing during the day is impossible. And the first tree in Coober Pedy was welded from scrap iron. The metal tree still stands on the hill above the town. 200 kilometers north of Perth, in Nambung National Park, there is a desert, yellow sand. And from this yellow sand protrude thousands of limestone pillars up to 3.5 meters tall. The Pinnacles. There are thousands of them here, of different sizes, different shapes. Some resemble obelisks. Others look like the teeth of a giant comb. Others still look like melted candles. Scattered across a vast area in such a way that viewed from above, the landscape resembles a cemetery or the ruins of an enormous structure. That is exactly how the first Europeans to see this place interpreted it. Dutch sailors in the 1650s landed on this shore and were astounded. In their records, they described the ruins of an ancient city with columns and towers, not suspecting for a moment that it was a natural formation. Each pillar is composed of compressed marine shells. Thousands of years ago, the sea was here. Shells settled to the bottom, accumulated in layers, and gradually cemented together. Then the sea receded. The wind blew away the sand around the denser columns and exposed the pillars. But here is what remains a subject of debate among scientists. The exact mechanism behind the formation of these perfectly vertical structures has still not been fully explained. Several competing theories exist, and none has been accepted as definitive. Thousands of identical vertical pillars, arranged with a mysterious density. Nature created something that looks deliberately designed. On Middle Island, off the southern coast of Western Australia, there is a lake. A pink one. Brightly pink. Not a pale lilac, not a faint pinkish hue, but a deep, saturated color. Almost the color of bubble gum. Lake
Hillier. It was discovered in 1802 by British explorers. Cartographer Matthew Flinders described it in his notes with evident surprise. Since then, it has not changed. What makes this lake unique is that the color does not disappear. If you fill a clear bottle with the water and take it home, it will remain pink. The color does not depend on the angle of view or the lighting. It is stable in any weather and at any time of day. For a long time, scientists assumed the cause was the algae Dunaliella salina, which produces a red pigment. In 2015, a group of scientists conducted a detailed analysis of the water using metagenomics methods. The result? Several species of halophilic bacteria and archaea were found in the lake, some of which are found nowhere else. It is precisely their combination that creates this color. But the full mechanism of interaction among the microorganisms that produces such a stable visual effect is still being studied. Middle Island is uninhabited. Reaching the shore of the lake is practically impossible without special permission. Most people see Hillier only from the air, from a helicopter or a plane. The pink oval of water among dark green forest and blue ocean, seen from above, looks like a color photograph from another planet. In the remote outback of Western Australia, 150 kilometers south of Halls Creek, lies a perfect circle. A crater nearly 1 kilometer in diameter, 880 meters. Its depth is approximately 60 meters.
The rim rises approximately 25 meters above the desert. Wolfe Creek Crater, the second largest meteorite crater on the planet that has retained a sufficiently clear structure for scientific study. The meteorite fell here approximately 300,000 years ago and weighed, according to scientists' estimates, approximately 50,000 tons. From the air, the crater looks as if it were drawn with a compass, a geometrically flawless circle in the red desert. So perfectly round that the first people to discover it from the air in 1947 initially could not make out what they were looking at. The pilot who found the crater made several passes before deciding that it was not an illusion. Inside the crater, a separate micro-world. Over several 100,000 years, a layer of sand and clay has accumulated on its floor. Trees and shrubs grow there that are not found outside the crater. A small, isolated biome has formed. On the rim of the crater, fragments of meteoric iron and a special mineral, woostite, which forms only during meteorite impacts, are still being found today. In the Kimberley region of northwestern Australia, a mountain massif of hundreds of domes and towers, striped, horizontal bands of orange and black alternate with mathematical precision on each dome. Bungle Bungle, Purnululu National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here is what is astonishing. The wider world had no knowledge of this place's existence until 1983. The massif is located in one of the most remote regions of Australia. There are no roads. It can only be reached by helicopter or by four-wheel drive along seasonal dirt tracks, and only during the dry season, because in the wet season, the area is completely cut off. A television film crew shooting a documentary in the region in 1983 spotted the massif from the air and reported it to the scientific community. The towers reach heights of up to 250 meters. The bands are the result of alternating layers with different concentrations of manganese and cyanobacteria. The dark bands are where cyanobacteria have formed a protective crust. The orange bands are where this crust is absent. Each dome is unique, but all of them are striped, as if painted according to a single template. 350 kilometers east of Perth, near the small town of Hyden, in the middle of a flat scrubland, stands a rock. It looks like an ocean wave at the very moment it is about to break. Height, 15 meters. Length, 110 meters. Wave rock. A curved, vertical surface of gray granite covered in multicolored bands, red, yellow, brown.
The bands run vertically downward, following the shape of the wave. The bands are formed by mineral deposits that have been washing down the surface of the rock with rain over thousands of years.
Carbonate and hydroxide, dissolved in rainwater, settled in layers and created a colored painting that no artist could have reproduced more precisely. The shape of the rock formed through the weathering of the stone from below. The earth around it gradually eroded and receded, exposing the base of the rock. The lower portion broke down faster than the upper, and as a result, that characteristic overhanging profile was formed. The rock reproduces the shape of an ocean wave so precisely that early photographs of it from the mid-20th century were mistaken by many for shots taken at the seashore. Haydn is 350 kilometers from the nearest coast. In the crater of an extinct volcano near the town of Mount Gambier in South Australia lies a lake. In winter, its water is steel grey, almost unremarkable. But every year, around November, over the course of several days, the water begins to change.
And by the end of November, the lake becomes a vivid blue, an almost implausibly blue, cobalt color. This same color holds throughout the summer and disappears again every winter. The exact mechanism of the color change has not been fully explained. The prevailing hypothesis is that as the water temperature rises, calcite crystals in the water begin to scatter light differently. But this hypothesis does not explain why the change happens so abruptly and so regularly at practically the same point in the calendar every year. Beneath the lake, a vast karst system. The water in the lake is connected to the regional groundwater through a system of caves. Divers have explored part of the underwater caves and found halls and tunnels branching off in different directions beneath the city. A complete map of the underground system beneath Mount Gambier has still not been drawn.
The residents of the town have grown so accustomed to this phenomenon that they mark the change in the lake's color as a local celebration. Tourists specifically plan their visit for November to catch the moment of transition. Australia is a continent that formed in isolation. That is precisely why there is so much here that exists nowhere else. Not only animals, but landscapes, phenomena, places. And that is precisely why every time it seems that Australia has already been studied and fully mapped, it throws up something new. As in 1983, when a television crew accidentally spotted an entire mountain massif from the air, of which the wider world had known nothing. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.